Hello, my name is James Reagan, and today I'm going to share a presentation with you called The Nuts and Bolts of Tax Lien Investing. So, my goal is to give you a very general overview of the tax lien investing process. And if you want more information, you can visit my website at www.taxliendigest.com. So, why listen to me? I was just like you. I I've always been interested in investing. I've actually purchased several mutual funds. I have a few rental properties. But I learned about this topic of tax lien investing from the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. There was one page in the book where he mentioned the word tax lien investing. And so since that time, I've studied several books on the topic. And I've purchased hundreds of liens. And so my goal here is to only teach you what I've actually done. So, very quickly, the first topic we're going to touch on is something called compounding interest. And then, secondly, we'll talk about why tax lien certificates. So, compounding interest. Every investor's goal is to make money and to make our money work for us. And really, we want our money working as hard as possible. So, there's something called the magic of compounding interest, and it works like this. Money earns interest upon interest when it's compounding. The interest rates determine how hard your money is working for you. So there's a rule called the rule of 72, and that rule works this way. You take the number 72 divided by your interest rate, and that tells you how many years it takes your money to double. So, for example, if you're earning 1% interest on your money, 72 divided by 1 would be 72 years. So that means it would take your money 72 years to double. So here are a few compounding interest examples. Savings account at 1% interest would take about 72 years for your money to double. CDs at about 1.3% interest, that means it takes your money about 55 years to double. Bonds at 6% interest, that means it takes your money about 12 years to double. The S&P 500 index fund at about 7.65% interest, that means your money doubles about every 9.4 years. Now let's look at Arizona tax lien certificates. They pay a maximum of 16% interest per year. That means your money doubles every 4.5 years. Florida tax lien certificates pay a maximum of 18% interest, which means your money doubles about every 4 years. And in Illinois, their tax lien certificates pay a maximum of 36% interest per year. That means your money's doubling every 2 years. So there's a book called The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. And Gary mentions 4 levels of money. Okay, the first level is dead money. This is money that earns interest at or below the rate of inflation. Okay, we don't want to be there. The second level is called safe money. That's money that earns interest at or just above the interest rate or the inflation rate. Okay, so if you're making 5 to 8%, he calls that safe money. Healthy money. That's money that earns interest that is well above the inflation rate. So if you're making anywhere from 9 to 12%, those are good solid returns. And I can teach you how to do that with tax lien certificates. But we want to be in the wealthy money category. And this is when you're making above 13% interest. And I can teach you to do that simply by investing in Florida tax lien certificates. So here's a quick example. This is a family that makes $46,000 a year, and that's the average in North Carolina, where I'm from. Okay, so let's just say that family took 10% of their income, which is $4,600, and I just want to show you how that $4,600 grows in different types of investments over a 10-year period of time. So in a savings account at 1% interest, that money grew to only $5,081.26. If they invested in the S&P 500 index fund, okay, it grew to $9,613.87. Now, if they had invested that same money in Florida tax lien certificates every year, that $4,600 would grow to $24,075.64 after 10 years. And Illinois tax liens paying at 36% interest, that money would have grown to $99,574.22 after 10 years. So you see the interest rate makes a huge difference in your returns. So why tax lien certificates? Well, first of all, what is a lien? A lien is a form of security interest granted over an item or property to secure payment of debt. So when there's a lien on something, you can't sell it until that lien is paid off. So a tax lien, it's a lien imposed by law on a real property to secure the payment of taxes. Tax lien certificates. All property owners are required to pay property taxes. Counties rely heavily on these property taxes for schools, roads, and other civic expenses. So if counties didn't receive their property tax money, they wouldn't be able to pay their bills. So counties got smart. So now, in some states, they attach tax liens to properties with delinquent taxes. Then those liens are sold to investors. So it's smart for the county because when they sell the lien, they now get their property tax. Tax liens are a win-win for everybody. The county now collects its revenue when a tax lien is sold. So the county gets its money. It's a win-win for the property owner because the property owner now gets additional time to pay his taxes for a fee, of course. And the investor is the biggest winner of all because the investor either makes a very high rate of return on that tax lien certificate, or, and this is the best part, if the property owner does not pay the taxes or does not pay off that lien, the lien holder, the tax lien certificate holder, can acquire that property for the price of the taxes. And the tax lien gets first position even over an existing mortgage. So let's just say there's a mortgage on a property. It's a property that's worth $100,000. They still owe $80,000. If there's a tax lien certificate, that lien takes precedent even over the mortgage. Tax liens are dividend producing. Tax liens are backed by real property. It's one of the only assets that I know of that's backed by a real property. Tax liens can be purchased as low as $30 a piece. I've seen them as low as $30 and as high as $100,000. So there's a varying range in how much they cost. There are thousands of high interest rate tax liens available. And liens can be purchased online and by mail. I've purchased 100% of my tax lien certificates either online or through the mail. Now, the benefit to tax lien certificate holders is that there is a natural liquidation rate. You know, the property owner doesn't get forever to pay their lien. In most states, that time period is between 1 and 3 years. And the redemption rate on tax lien certificates is about 97% on average, but the timing is unpredictable. So you can't control the timing on the redemption. You don't know when the property owner is going to pay, but 97% of the time they're going to pay before the redemption period because they don't want to lose their property. So there's 5 main pieces of the puzzle when we talk about tax lien certificates. Tax liens are either pay out by interest rate or there's something called fee paid. There's a redemption period. The bidding or purchase procedure. Then remember there's a tax lien expiration period. This is the period at which, you know, let's just say the property owner never paid their taxes and now you either have to try to acquire the property. Okay, there's a certain amount of time, and you know, in some states it's very long, 7 to 10 years. But if you don't act on that lien, your lien becomes null and void. And also the lien position and clearing of other liens. So these are the 5 things you care about. So let's discuss fee paid or penalty liens versus interest-based liens. So a fee or a penalty state is a state that bills the entire interest penalty at the inception of the lien, usually the day after the auction or at some set date. So in Illinois, if you purchase a tax lien certificate in Illinois, the day after the auction, there's a penalty attached to that lien, and the property owner has to pay the taxes plus the penalty. So it's a built-in interest. Now, there's some states that are called interest states. Okay, so when you purchase tax lien certificates in their state, the interest accrues monthly. In Florida, for example, Florida plays out a maximum interest rate of 18%. So the interest accrues every month at about 1.5%. And every state in the U.S. does things differently. Some states sell tax lien certificates. Some states sell tax deeds, which means they just sell your property if you don't pay the taxes. And then some states do a combination of both. Now, these are some of the high interest states. Illinois at 36% interest per year, Texas at 25%, Maryland at 24%, Florida at 18%, New Jersey at 18%, Wyoming is 18%, and Arizona at 16% interest. Now, tax assessors, they have a natural desire to accommodate tax lien investors. Remember, the collection of property taxes is a huge priority because those counties need that money. So the last thing the treasurer wants is an unsatisfied tax lien investor. So the county uses a lot of technology for our advantage. You can access tax lien lists online. These are lists that tell you which liens are available. You can do all of your research online. I've done 100% of my research at my computer. They monitor resales, and the county tax assessor collects the tax money for you and sends it to you. Most of mine are direct deposit into my bank account. And remember, the tax certificate takes first priority or first position over other items such as the mortgage or other liens. Now, there's two ways to purchase tax lien certificates. The first way is tax liens are sold at auctions. Some of these auctions are live, some are held online, but in most cases, the winning bidder is the person that bids the lowest interest rate. So auctions are designed to create competition, which naturally drives down your rate of return. So that's the first way you can buy liens. Now, the second way, and the way that I recommend, is something called over-the-counter. So over-the-counter liens are liens that were not sold at the auction. These liens are made available to the public in some states at the maximum interest rate. There's no competition. You just go to a website, or you call or you mail, and you purchase these liens at their maximum interest rate. So remember, this was an overview. If you want more information on tax lien certificates, go to www.taxliendigest.com. I hope this information was helpful, and thanks a lot.